I'm going to be discussing in this video necessitating psychological need. And you might think of needs as something that just are innate, right? And they will come to you much like being hungry and then having that signal that hangs a dissatisfying, uncomfortable feeling within our meaningful emotions that really tell the mind from the mind-body connection that's occurring within our dynamic mind and dynamical body in regards to specific dynamic processes and component parts that are much more complex, in which we tend to offload to various other aspects of the body from our prior existing cognitions and cognizing of meaningful information that all has to be operated within our minds. And our minds can't do it all, so we tend to offload a lot of that to the body. But most of what's most meaningful and what is ultimately necessary to do anything and well defined as a must, good enough and necessarily necessary conditions to be able to conduct any meaningful behavior in regards to perception, action, behavior, and agency processes that are calibratory and navigatory in regards to our self and surrounds, and that allow us to engage higher organizations of creations of meaning that are intrinsic only to living a meaningful life. And if you're living a meaningless life, please leave. No, you can't. I'm doing a video right now. It's important. So this would be an example of necessitating a psychological need. I've set out to be able to create a video, and some random stranger came up to me and was trying to pull me away from that psychological need, which could thwart that. And by actually moving it back towards what I aspire, I'm engaging more meaningfully in my life. And I don't know that person, so as far as I'm concerned, that person's meaningless and arbitrary to I. And couldn't be otherwise up until, say, I necessitated the need to engage meaningfully with that individual. Then maybe their life could be meaningful to I, but maybe not, because maybe their life truly is meaningless. I don't know. But it's engaging in that spontaneity of existence in which we can opt and make meaningful choices within an array of options in our minds, our dynamical minds, as we're processing meaningful information, that we actually can engage more meaningfulness processes in life in which we can truly cultivate meaningful living. And the true importance of understanding what creates a meaningful life rather than a meaningless and arbitrary life is being able to recognize our psychological needs when we're confronted with the absurd, and which tends to bring about these meaningful emotions rather than meaningless emotions of futility and meaninglessness and arbitrariness. And you might think, so like, how can those coexist? How can you feel meaninglessness and then say that you have a meaningful existence at all? Well, I still want to live a meaningful life, even though the absurd has confronted me. And part of what actually creates that meaningful life is to resist that meaninglessness. And what destroys the meaning in life doesn't mean I'm going to cease to create meaning in my life just because something got destroyed. I can still create a new meaning. And that can only be done if I could necessitate my psychological need. And going back to that innate, say, hunger pang, you probably won't actually do anything meaningful in terms of actually getting the food unless you actually truly necessitate that. Even what seems to be a biological urge from the body, something that would be innate and just anybody would automatically do, people just don't suddenly go get food unless they want to, unless they necessitate it, unless they create a meaning to go do that, and a meaning passageway to what's resonant with meaningful emotions. And just because you eat doesn't necessarily mean that you're eating meaningfully, because you might actually not savor the flavor. You might not engage in that savory, flavory process of instantiating the meanings that are hard to really put into words unless you think, and you think meaningfully in regards to what's valid, psychologically true, and meaningful to the psychological needs that you've necessitated to be able to engage in a connective, communicative, meaningful utterance of thought process that's not just meaningful, engages meaningfulness processes that are reciprocal, relational to thoughtfulness processes, and deepening our thoughts and deepening expansivenesses of thought in regards to constitute knowledge that constitute knowledge, and does so meaningfully in regards to deepening the meaningfulness that we necessitate through our meaningfulnesses. Bye. That's all I wanted to say for this video. I hope you enjoy. Have an awesome one.